All right. Looks like people are kind of slowing down, shuffling on in. So we'll
All
let them
right.
keep on coming in, but we can get started.
Absolutely. Welcome, everybody.
We're so happy to have you guys here, and welcome to the Megan and Stephanie show again. We've come full
Return.
circle.
That's right. Last month we did the very first Virtuous Insider,
Mhm.
and now we've done a whole month of them. It's been really exciting to see people come through and learn about different things and engage with each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Be great.
Today's going to be a lot of fun, though, because we're talking kind of similar to last time, where we'll talk through a little bit of a case study with a client of Virtuous. And then we'll actually dive into Virtuous and go through some kind of actionable um, takeaways and things like that. So we can go ahead and get started. What do you say, Megan?
Yeah, let's kick it off.
All
So today
right.
we're looking at the case study from Heidi's Village, um, which is an animal shelter, rescue, and safe haven in Arizona, where Virtuous is based, our neighbor. And they had a really interesting time last year that I think we can all learn a lot from. And so we started with a quote from them with, you can all read the slide, that from Lisa Evans Johnson, who was the chief of staff at the time, and said, "It was important to me that whatever software or platform we chose was robust in functions that created more of me," which is something we hear from fundraisers all the time, particularly if you're in a kind of like one person shop or a very small development team. If you're like, what I actually need is a robot version of myself who can go do all of the things that I have to do while I go do the human things that need to be done by an actual human. But I just need more of me. Um, so Lisa found a lot of usefulness and value in workflows and how she could create workflows and tasks within the same system. And then it was doing some of the work for her while still being very personalized. So this is a very good use of Virtuous, I think. And you'll see that Heidi's Village was in a kind of tough spot because they were a brand new nonprofit, just opening their doors. They had built a beautiful facility and were ready to be like, we're here. Welcome to the community. We're going to tell you all about ourselves. We'll have this giant open house. It will be great. And then I've neglected to mention that that was planned for April of 2020.
It'd be a
So it
rough
might have even
time.
been March, but spring of 2020, just like in the stay-at-home order, occurred within a very short period of when their large-scale opening kickoff was scheduled to start. And they were starting with a very small donor pool. Um, they had like less than 20 donors, but they got their first, um, it's not a shipment. They got their first batch of
Like,
animals that
yeah,
needed help.
that.
Batch, there we go. Right at the same time. So once there are like, there was no delay. There were animals that needed care that were in their care. There was no choice but to figure out a way to raise enough money to fuel their mission. Um, they had to. So it was not an enviable position to be in the spring of 2020, launching a whole new organization with no alternative but to figure out something new. So they pivoted, that our favorite word of 2020 in the nonprofit sector, they pivoted away from a large scale event strategy into hyper personalization. They used virtuous automation to engage every donor with personalized communication. And when I say hyper personalized stewardship efforts, we're talking granular. Um, Lisa and the team there were offering private socially distanced tours to virtually everyone who donated, or to practically everyone donated. They were in person, not virtual tours. Language is so complicated now.
Right.
Yeah, so they were offering, so they did hundreds of tiny tours instead of mass open houses. They did phone calls and handwritten notes and all of that kind of like intense personal stewardship. And they use new donor workflows to engage every new contact immediately. So as soon as someone was expressing interest, they were able to get them into a workflow where they were being engaged constantly, and brought to their next action and brought to their next suggestion. And Lisa pointed out something that I thought was really useful. Is she said that they could do all of the things that we know we need to do that are so hard to keep on top of if you're trying to track it manually. And I can speak to this as a person who had like some ideas about responsive fundraising and definitely about like personalized stewardship, working in an organization that didn't have systems to do it. And when you're doing it as far as like, I'm trying to do this in a spreadsheet and a database that was not built to track this kind of behavior, it's really easy for things to fall through the cracks and you miss people and you do it when you've got time. So suddenly like some donors get phone calls and some donors never hear from you again. And it's based kind of on how you can fit it in. So being able to have a flow, a lot of it automated so that things happen while you are managing all of the other things you're doing is an essential feature of Virtuous.
Well, and one thing, Megan, I just have to laugh because Heidi's Village is very specific, being, animal rescue and stuff. I could see how it would be very, very easy to not exactly be enticed by running reports and pulling lists of donors and, writing thank you cards and stuff when there are puppies to snuggle. Like,
our puppies.
I get that.
Yes, I would blame no one working in the animal care space if they're like, I'm prioritizing puppy cuddles.
Sorry, that's just my 2 cents, because I could totally see where that could go awry.
So, yes. So what they did though with this personalization and this automation, they were able to grow their donor pool within a year to more than 350 donors, starting basically from scratch. And I think that shows us a very important lesson that personalized communication really works. But in order to do it at scale, we're going to need some help from systems and platforms. So, Stephanie, can you show us some of the ways? Because when we say automation, I think sometimes it gets a little overwhelming to think about like, now I have to build a robot.
Yeah.
Which is not how things work in Virtuous.
Not at all. And automation is a fantastic tool, but it can be a little intimidating. It's one of those kind of pieces of the system where the possibilities are endless, which is a wonderful thing, but also a little nerve-wracking if you're just getting started. And so especially for Heidi's Village, they had to kind of jump in, start everything from scratch, not just their donor retention, but their whole, just rollout, really. And so being able to kind of focus on some very, very specific pieces of automation without having to build an entire workflow is kind of a nice way to kind of dip your toe into the automation waters, if you will. Workflows have their place, and automation is so phenomenal. But again, the possibilities are endless. So sometimes just knowing where to start is kind of the hardest bit. So I want to take you into Virtuous and show you kind of two of the pieces that we don't really talk too much about, because they are kind of just that little piece of automation just on their own. So I'll go ahead and take you on over. So we are here in my sandbox on Virtuous within the dashboard, which is where we are right now. I want to take a look at tasks. And so I want to talk today kind of about tasks and tags, because I think those are kind of two very easy ways to kind of get into that spirit of automation, if you will.
And once you start automating,
right,
you might not want to stop.
And that's when you build out your own workflows.
Then you build a workflow, but we're not there yet.
Yes.
I'm very excited because I love automation so much.
Well, and I do laugh because I get overwhelmed by possibilities. So like, I love automation. I just have to think about it. I have to kind of plan it before I put it into Virtuous, because I get very distracted by all the shiny, cool things. And so I really like the kind of automated tasks that I'll show you in a minute. Mm-hmm. So over in the tasks field, we have this box over here for automated and recurring tasks. And now I want to make one thing very, very clear. An automated task is not the same as a task via automation. Sounds very, very similar. So within our workflow automations, you can have an action that is to add a task to one of your users. But that's part of the bigger workflow. Automated tasks are, again, just that kind of one little bite of automation. So I have some examples here, and I mean, you'll see I'm a little behind on my tasks, guys, and don't follow my example here. All of my tasks are overdue, but automated tasks are just kind of that very simple one kind of step automation, if you will. So I have some examples over here, and you can tell they're automated tasks just based on this little bit right here. I also have some recurring tasks in here that are very specific to a donor, but automated tasks are that little bit of if this, then that. So let me go ahead and show you. So my organization, if someone hits the bronze level of donor, that means that they've done a single gift over $5,000. Now, this is a very specific task that I've set up because it has a specific milestone and a specific criteria for that milestone. Now, I have it set so I personally will get this task, and I can also toggle and decide if I want this just to happen for the contacts that I follow or just all contacts in general. And I've written a little description here to when I get this task to remember to call and thank them regarding their single gift. Now, I want to show you just one other one that I think is kind of a fun way to think through automated tasks. So that was very specific. If a gift exceeds this amount, let me know. Virtuous is going to give me a task to remember to call and thank them. You'll see over here on some of these tasks that are past due for me, and again, I'll get on them, I promise. One of them is the call and thank donor. Share the bronze level donor program for the $5,000 threshold. See if they'd like to create a single or recurring gift to get them to that level by the end of the year. So this is something where I've said halfway, this is my automated task over here, halfway to the bronze level donor threshold. So I'm saying if someone has given their year to date giving threshold passes $2,500, I should call them and tell them about our bronze level program and invite them to either make a single gift to hit that 5,000 or to set up a recurring gift depending on what time of the year it is so they can hit that threshold. So this is a unique one where I'm calling and sharing something new they might not know about based on some specific giving criteria. So this is just one I kind of threw together, but the whole automated task setup, if you're over here in new task, you can just choose automated task. And then you'll type in your task title, but then these milestones, these are going to be the things where you say, if this. So if an upcoming birthday, then remember to call and sing them happy birthday, send a birthdaygram, whatever. But these milestones are just kind of that one little bite of automation that's just very simple. It's not a whole workflow, it's just one specific action. So that's kind of a fun way to, like I said, dip your toe in the automated workflow kind of concept. And I've got some other examples over here of, celebrating an upcoming birthday, but a lot of mine that I built were around that kind of giving threshold. So you'll see in the description, I have some examples, but so a donor just made their first gift, maybe call and invite them to start the monthly giving program. Again, they gave a single gift. Maybe I can share something more about the way we do our programs and the way we, reward and thank our donors and invite them to become a monthly donor. So it's just different ways of recognizing when one little thing happens, what's the next step that we take with that donor together.
Yeah, this is really kind of game changing as far as how on top of things you could really be. Because I always say, like, as soon as you have more than 10 donors, you need something to be able to scale personal attention. Because like I could probably, my friends and family may disagree, but I could probably remember 10 people's birthdays in time to get the card in the mail if that was all I had to do. But if I have 1,000 donors, there's no way I can. And this setting up an automated task just to be like, hey, do the thing.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's just that little nudge on one thing. It doesn't have to be an entire series of, a birthday or an anniversary, celebrating an anniversary or birthday can be an entire series of sending a postcard and a call and all kinds of things. But if that's overwhelming to you and you are just starting, or you are in a transition like Heidi's Village was, kind of taking that bigger concept of automation and just paring it down to one action. Okay, let's do one thing, but let's let Virtuous do the thing for us. Let's let Virtuous filter through and look for all of the donors that meet this criteria and boil it down so I can just go through and say, okay, perfect. I've got some folks that I want to share about the monthly giving program. I've got some folks that just created a new recurring gift, this one here, and I want to reach out to them with their preferred method, which I could use tags for, celebrate their generosity. I can invite some people to become a certain, bronze level donor by the end of the year, with whatever that means. It's halfway through the year right now. So maybe I say, hey, you already got halfway there. Let's set up some monthly recurring gifts to get you all the way to the bronze level by the end of the year. So it's just kind of taking that bigger automation picture and just really kind of boiling it down to one little bite-sized piece.
I think that was the first thing I wanted to share. Especially, like, not everything needs to be in a workflow.
Very much so. And there are plenty of times where a workflow automation is wildly appropriate.
Oh, absolutely.
And automated tasks are, again, just kind of that intro step, if you will, where they can be running independently of workflows. It doesn't mean you have to do a full workflow automation or automated tasks. It's just a different way of kind of looking at them. So I think that's kind of the cool thing, is you can really run it and structure it based on what you need. The nice thing about automated and recurring tasks, and I didn't even talk about recurring tasks, but the nice thing about them is you can set them for a specific Virtuous user. So if we were to create an automated task, I can give this task to Mary Poppins. So it's not just me doing all of the heavy lifting of the personal kind of piece of it. Also, if you were to just do a standard task, this is where you can make it recurring. And a standard recurring task can be tied to a specific contact record. So this is one where it's not a threshold of, if this milestone is hit, do this. This is, every week, reach out to, I can't think of an example right now. I've just got Parks and Rec characters on the brain because all of my examples are, no. But this is that different way of looking at tasks where it's, every year I want to check in on one donor about one thing specifically. So it's a recurring task. So that's kind of the cool thing too, is you can specify the donor or the internal user of who's going to get the task.
This seems like major gift officers could really love this. I could see a lot of ways other people can, but of knowing like, all right, once a year, call to see if so-and-so got back from snowbirding in Florida and tell them what's new about our programs.
Yep. And it's just nice that it just lives over here to always have an automated recurring task kind of box, the original task that you've created with whatever kind of criteria. And then as that criteria is hit, or as that milestone is reached, Virtuous just automatically makes the task, pops it into your task box with whatever criteria you had set. And then you're kind of off to the races from there, which is really nice. And I mean, whether you're in just the tasks view or you're in the task board view, where you're just kind of glancing through and saying, okay, perfect. I'm going to make all of these, $5,000 calls. Perfect. This is my list for the day. Wonderful. Onward and upward. And then there we go from there. So it's just kind of cool because it's just a different way of looking at automation in a bite-sized piece.
That's really neat.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Jason asked if this automated task can be filtered by embedding a query that is project.
So we don't have any kind of way to embed, because the automated tasks are just kind of that simple, basic structure. They are just going to be, let me show you the milestones here, these milestones. So it's just some kind of basic giving thresholds, and then some upcoming dates, if you will. So as of right now, these are the options as far as milestones go. But once you choose the milestone, you can set the threshold. So that's kind of nice.
And you can add a description if you need.
And so again, you'll see on kind of my examples here, all of these descriptions, call and thank them. They're all the same description because it's just pulling the standard, like description text from my original task. It's not pulling any dynamic information on the donor, but it's pulling based on the donor kind of action. So that's just one little kind of bite-sized piece on automation. But I also wanted to I could talk automation all day. I also wanted to just talk about smart tags really quick, because I think that's kind of another way of looking at or thinking about automation that, again, doesn't have to be a whole workflow. It is just kind of that simpler look at it. So I want to show you, we've got data management and tags. So everybody knows about tags, and they're really great ways to kind of group and label donors based on preference, based on history, all kinds of things like that. But it was actually in one of our releases just a few months ago, we started adding smart tags. So I want to show you, if you create a tag, and I will just kind of one comment about tags is, tags are something that your admin has to be able to allow you to have that permission. So if you don't see tags, don't panic. Just touch base with your system admin internally to see if either they can help add a tag or allow you the permissions to add a tag yourself. But so in our tags, we used to just have this top section over up here, which would be what type of tag this is, the name, an abbreviation, and a description of it. This smart tag bit down here is kind of like a little automation as well. So we have two options. We either have, based on an expiring tag based on some dynamic thing happening in the donor record, or you can just set it automatically. So if a smart tag is on someone's record, you can have it active for 30 days. Maybe it's when somebody indicates volunteer interest, they get the volunteer interest tag for 30 days. After that, if they haven't taken action or you haven't taken action, maybe that no longer applies. So the tag will disappear from that record. So it'll just automatically expire. We also have giving threshold, and you can only choose one or the other. You can't have expiration days and giving threshold for a single tag. But the giving threshold is kind of similar to the concept of the automated tasks, where if their last gift amount was X amount of dollars, whatever that threshold is, they get this tag added. So that tag list of contacts is constantly being kind of refreshed and refined and updated as giving statistics change, as donor activity happens. So that's kind of the cool thing there too, where again, tags are always going to just be the current group. You can't ever look back at who used to have a tag, but these are wonderful ways if you're keeping your data clean and keeping it kind of refreshed and continually updating it, that you can look at some kind of dynamic content within tags. So that's just kind of another example. Yeah.
So I could just say, if I wanted to, it was important to me to know, I need to know everyone who gave over $500 in the last 2 months. Like, I want to do something with that particular group, then I could use a dynamic tag so that I would always have that current information, just to be like, these are the people right now. This is it.
Yeah. And I mean, one example would be life to date giving, or life to date plus pass-through giving. So say they've hit that, I think our bronze level was $5,000 giving amount. So once they hit that, they could just get, we'll put this in here, bronze level. So I don't have to go in and say, okay, who's hit $5,000 this year? Or I said life to date. Let's do, life to date works fine. Who's hit $5,000 in their entire kind of experience and relationship with us. Virtuous just automatically is going to say, perfect, that last gift pushed them over this threshold. Let's give them that bronze level donor tag. So you always have that kind of up-to-date information. So the tags are kind of adding in and removing themselves based on the criteria and thresholds you're putting in here, which is really nice.
Super useful. We had a question come in about automated and recurring tasks.
Yes.
Just confirming that these are manual and that tasks like a phone call or a reminder to do something aren't the same as the automating whatever that thing is. Right. So if you're going to like send an email, it doesn't send the email. It'll remind you to send it manually.
Correct. So the way that tasks in automation, where in the automation kind of tool work, you can set an action to be, to send an email or something like that. If you choose the action is to add a task, it is going to be very similar to this kind of structure here, where nobody's calling and nobody's doing anything. It's hitting my to-do list to do these things. So you can see it here in your tasks page, on the tasks board, or on the dashboard in your task list here. So again, all of my automated tasks I had set up just to come to me, but you can set them up to go to other members of the team so that kind of the work is divided, or people are kind of fine-tuned based on what their, kind of specialty is, if you will. But all of mine are just coming to me. So my 8 tasks are just here. So this is my to-do list for the day. And a lot of mine, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, so this really functions almost as like a very on top of it personal assistant.
Yes. Very much so.
I've always wanted and would benefit from tremendously.
Automated tasks.
Automated tasks.
Yeah, this is that assistant that's working in the background before you get into the office and saying, okay, perfect, here's some new stuff that's happened. Here's some people that have hit these milestones or markers that we've previously set. Go forth, call, touch base, share the programs that we had kind of set up for those thresholds, if you will. But so all of mine, not all, most of my automated tasks I have set up are just set for the context that I follow, because I have a lot of fake information in my database. And so I would be drowning in tasks, and it's just me. There's no one else to assign tasks to. So I set it up so just the context that I'm following are the ones that I'm going to get the tasks for, but you don't have to do that, especially if you're sharing the tasks among team members. That's kind of the beauty of it, is you can kind of keep it a really wide lens or narrow it down depending on what you need and what works for you and your team.
How exciting.
I'm going to stop talking about Virtuous. I could go all day.
So exciting. There's so many different ways to use Virtuous, and all of them are so exciting to me. So if you want to share your story about things you're doing with Virtuous, you are welcome to be in the spotlight. We'd love to hear from you. You can drop me an email. People are welcome to become guest panelists on the Megan and Stephanie show. We'd love to have you. So if you want to talk about something, and remember, you don't have to have the most dramatic results in the world for your story to be really interesting to other users and customers. We're all in this together. And so if you just have something that you think like, oh, I'm doing this and it's working pretty well, other people would like to hear about it. And I certainly would. So drop us a line.
Yeah. And I would honestly love to talk through, some examples of people that are really doing things out there, instead of me just kind of playing around in my own, fake data, and to be able to talk through some things like that. Maybe you've discovered automated tasks and you're using them in a cool, unique way. Share that with us. We'd love to kind of bring you on and talk through some of that stuff and just see what's working, what's not working, and what you're wanting to try more of or differently. So we welcome you to join the Megan and Stephanie show.
Absolutely. We're here every week, or someone is.
Yes. Yes, but next week, we're actually going to kind of go a little bit deeper into things like notes and tasks. So it's going to be more of that kind of structured training time with the training team. So Scott and I will be on here talking all kinds of notes and tasks. I mean, we could talk for days on notes and tasks. There's so many different ways to kind of think through the way you're utilizing Virtuous. So join us next time. We're happy to have you. We look forward to it, and bring some questions.
This is great, Stephanie. Thanks.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And have a happy rest of your Thursday. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.